All right. Hello. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. Okay. So I'm going to introduce Miss Trixie. Miss Trixie is my ballet teacher, and I first met her, the year was 2020. It was right before COVID hit.
Gosh.
And so it's like 5 years now to think about that. But my assistant manager, Dana, she said, I've always wanted to do dance. I was the athletic girl, and that was my genre, right? I never did dance, but I always had a passion for it. And my assistant manager, Dana, back when I worked at Dutch Bros, she's like, oh, my ballet teacher, she does a class for adults. And I was like, what? And I was like, but I've never done it. Like, I'm not the ballerina body, the typical, like, I'm this. And she's like, no, anybody can come at any time. Like, it's once a week, and you can just watch me and you can watch her. It was humbling to say the least, but oh, dream come true. You absolutely made a dream come true. This was after I moved back from Mexico too, and I was just in my hometown to just save money to then launch back out to California. But you were an absolute gem in the being back in my hometown process. I
Oh,
didn't like it. There's some people that I love there, right? But it was strictly business, get money to get out, you know? And you absolutely just championed me to this is where you're at and this is what we're working with, that you're good enough right now. You don't have to be a 6 foot, super skinny ballerina to do ballet. And like, you are such a advocate for loving yourself where you're at. So I'm just so thankful to have you on my team, not just as my ballet teacher currently, but just as a friend. So yeah, that's who she is to me. So big, this is what we're getting into, loving yourself where you're at and everything else that comes in between that. But yeah, so for the people that don't know you, what's a little bit more about you?
oh my gosh, what a gorgeous introduction. Thank
I
you.
mean it all, yeah.
I mean, you just like stated my mission in the world. Like that's what I'm doing here. Like I'm here to well, dance is my passion. It was always my first love. I grew up since I was 3 years old in ballet class. I was in Miss Paula's tap class in her garage, and then we moved on to like Powell Academy and dropping some names here for anybody who might be watching. Um, and I danced my way through my entire life and was in theater for years and years and years. That was a major passion of mine. I was always in summer workshops, TADWA, for people that are watching. Cal State Northridge had a great program. And my dear, dear ballet mentor, who I've known since I was 9 years old, I met and I am still taking class from her on Zoom 2 or 3 times a week. So that's amazing. And I know what it means to have something to anchor you in this life. And whether that's a sport or, the Bible or, excuse me, or academics or whatever that creative passion is that like lights your fire. So that has always been what dance has been for me. And um, I would even go so far to say, as my greatest dream was for when I was pregnant, for my water to break while I was at the ballet bar doing a plie. And it didn't, but close though. I was doing ballet in the swimming pool, so that's pretty close. And then also to end my days at the ballet bar, to have like my final day be like dancing at the ballet bar. So
Wow. Yeah. And that's so beautiful. Like literally starting at 3 years old. So it was in your bones, you know? But that's amazing. So you are, like I said, a big advocate for loving yourself where you're at. I
mhm.
have heard terrible stories about how ballet teachers were toxic and you're fat and you're not good enough and like all that. I clearly don't get that from you. You push me to be better, but never have I felt belittled to be better. You know, so it's like I don't have that experience, obviously. Since you were in the industry for so long, what was your experience with other teachers?
Oh yes, I have seen and heard it all.
I
um,
bet.
uh, you know, it was a passion, and then it was like, maybe this is a career. And it wasn't ballet that was the career because I had never had a ballet body. Oh my goodness. I had the opposite. I am built like a gymnast. I'm like a little teapot, you know, and very stocky and very muscular. I do not have the ballet feet. I do not have the turnout. I always said I had all of the passion, but none of the gifts. The gift, like
Mm,
perfect turnout, and these beautiful feet, banana feet that bend all the way over, and you know, the long, lean lines. I didn't have any of those things. Yet my passion for it and my beautiful lines, like I can still make the beautiful line with my little body that God gave me. um, I still got great auditions when I moved forward, you know, through college and stuff and after college, and I had some wonderful professional shows that I was dancing in, and musical theater became the venue because many choreographers said, you know, like, you're fantastic, but you do not fit this part. Your
mm,
This is not your type, is not this. um and I was miscast many times, um because people thought I looked like one type, but I wanted to be the other type.
mm,
So I mean, I was told by Disney I made it to this final audition for a Disney show that they were opening at Disneyland. It was for Aladdin, and I made it to final callbacks. And the choreographer came by on the line when we were standing. It's just like chorus line, where you stand in the line and you kind of wait for feedback and you get cut, you know? And she came by right on this side of my ear and she was like, "You're fantastic, but you won't fit the costume." And
mm,
that was like, like that just burned a hole in my soul. And at that time, I was doing everything and anything to fit the mold. I was abusing my body, trying to fit a mold that was not meant for me, that my body cannot do, will never do. Even when I was, you know, doing very dangerous starvation behaviors and anorexic exercise activities, and of course, all the internal monologue that goes along with that too, with eating disorders, I still couldn't get myself to bend and squish and shape into that little skinny beanstalk. I'm not built that way. Um, so yeah, I've had some cruel comments from even medical doctors. Back in the 80s and 90s, we weren't as knowledgeable and wise as we are now. And the BMI chart was, you know, uh, I don't know what to say, like just sacred. Like if you did not fit in that
yeah.
BMI chart, you're obese, you know. And so,
Yeah. The BS chart, really.
BS
Like,
chart. Well done. Yes. Oh yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And it's like even though when you were on the like last lineup of the Disney audition, she said you're fantastic, but and you didn't take on that I'm fantastic. It was the but. It's like, but my body is not doing what you want it to do.
Mhm.
And I just I think that is such an important thing just for even sharing your journey on what that looked like. Like even you were literally practicing unhealthy things to try to get your body to look like that. But your body still didn't look like that. And one of the most powerful things I heard, it was some influencer, I don't know their name. They said, I have a German Shepherd body. I cannot look like a Chihuahua. I cannot be working to look like a Chihuahua because I'm a German Shepherd. And I'm literally German, you're literally German. And so
Yeah.
it's like we have that stocky gymnast body. I still think there's beauty in the fact that like you didn't fully give it up. Like you're still doing that. Like, okay, no, you didn't fit the Disney mold. It's like, what the heck is even that? You know what I mean? But it's like, I just think it's beautiful that you still pushed and you still tried. And through that, even just you sharing your story with like eating disorder and stuff, it sounds like that's not something you're at anymore. You
Mm.
did it. You recognize that this isn't it. This isn't healthy. And so how did you move forward from that?
Yeah. So it was almost like when you're so deeply in love with something, it's like a breakup, it's like a divorce, you know, where you realize, I thought this was the thing that was going to carry me through my life. I thought this was, you know, the love of my life. And then you get your heart broken and it's not meant for you.
Mm,
And so it's like you get to a point where you're like, well, it kind of is life or death. Am I going to continue on this very unhealthy path, trying to make myself something that I'm not, and punishing myself for not being that ideal, whatever that is? Or am I going to celebrate this passion and share it with others and make it something different? Can we make ballet something different? Can we open it to everybody? Can everybody be a ballet dancer? And I do think the answer is yes. Professionally at the, New York Ballet Company, no, they will always have an ideal. And by the way, it's a moving target. The ideal always changes. When I was, in grade school going to the ballet, we went to this beautiful amphitheater where they had ballets outdoors. The body type was very lean with no muscle. Muscle was ew, muscle was yuck, don't do muscle, that's disgusting. So it was just get down to the lowest weight possible that you can dance and don't die. That was the
Wow.
ideal then. And then we watched it change, over the late 90s, 2000s, where it was like, okay, muscle is in, curves are in. Now we like booties. Now it's okay to be strong. And that ideal added muscle. So now I see this trend where um, ballet dancers are not just artists and performers, but they're expected to be athletes and Olympians and doing extraordinary things, superhuman things with their bodies, which I don't think promote longevity.
Mm.
So if you're a professional, God bless you. And, I hope that you have good health care to take care of that body and get those hip replacements. Um, and then for the rest of us who love ballet, you can dance and be in ballet or any genre of dance for longevity. And that is the point where you have to kind of change your focus, which is what I had to do. So going from making dance my passion to career, and then I was like, well, this is more than a hobby. I mean, a hobby is like, what is that? That's like, it makes me think of Hobby Lobby. Like, I'm gonna go get some glue sticks. Like, I don't, this is not a hobby. This is serious for
Yeah.
me. So it's still a passion, but it's like, what is the passion? Is the passion to dance professionally and fit this mold and promote this ideal that is not realistic for women? Or is it a passion to invite women into this space where they're safe and they can be beautiful and they can be strong and they can dance for longevity forever and be
Hmm.
fit and have healthy muscles and joints and live long, healthy lives? It's not just lifespan, but health span.
Yeah. Yeah. And just emphasis on what you're supposed to be is constantly changing. The
Yeah,
industry that you started out in to like where it's at now. And it's just wild to think like no muscle. I'm like, how do you not get muscle even doing what I'm doing? I would say I'm beginner, right? I'm not, and I'm like, I can't not get muscle doing what you're having me do. So it's like, how did they even achieve that, you know? But I just,
diet.
yeah,
Yeah.
I even like with me, I know you're just about like longevity. Like we're not working to destroy our bodies. We're working so we can do this until our last breath, basically. And in that, so when it comes to boundaries, then I see your boundaries now. You know, like you're not wearing, you've told me before you don't wear certain kinds of shoes. You're like, they squish my feet. They're not good for my feet. I'm not wearing those when I do ballet now. What So that's what it kind of looks like now, and you can elaborate on that. But how did your boundaries evolve through dance? So as you're kind of, we see how you recognized this is the industry, I'm not fitting the mold, yet this is my passion. How did your boundaries evolve in that?
That is such an amazing question. Um, it makes me think of when people say to children, oh, what a good child, what a good baby, what a good girl, and it makes me think, and I always kind of cringe a little bit when I hear that because I'm like, what do you mean when you say that? Um, and for those of us who have any sort of abuse in our history or trauma, we know that that means when you're saying a baby is good, you're saying they're no trouble, they don't cry, they don't have needs. And when you're a good girl growing up, a younger girl, and this applies to ballet class, you're a good ballet dancer, you're a good student, you're a good girl. If you ignore your needs, for the sake of meeting the needs of others, the ballet master, the costume, the character, the whatever. So that makes you good if you deny your own needs. So
Mm.
if you do that enough and you push down your own needs and you don't even think, what do I want? Is this what I want? Does this feel good? Does my body like this? It's like that's not even on the table.
Mm.
And so, you do that long enough, and then you grow into adolescence, and that becomes, dangerous when your body is not your own and you don't feel sovereignty over your body and you feel like your body is for everyone else. Your body isn't
Mhm.
a temple and sacred and your own, and you can't say, I don't like that. So that can become dangerous as we become older, particularly for women. But yes, it does happen to boys too. Certainly, boys get groomed for that kind of behavior. Um, so unfortunately, I think the boundaries come too late often, and they're difficult. They feel weird and strange and wrong because now suddenly you're not good. Now you're saying no. Now you're saying I don't like that. So it's um it's a life thing and it's a dance thing, you know? It's like
Yeah.
I love ballet class, but there are certain things in when I attend someone else's ballet class where I say, this is punishing. My body doesn't like this. This is hurting me. This isn't making me stronger. This is hurting me. And I have to talk to my teacher and say, I can't do those anymore. I'm going to modify and I'm going to do XYZ instead. In case you see me doing something off script, I'm not being a bad
Mhm.
girl or a bad ballet dancer. I'm just making my needs known. And that's what a boundary looks like for me today as a 50-year-old ballet student. So,
Yeah.
but that's a journey. That's a journey. And I dare say a lot of people who grow up in dance and theater have quite a journey ahead of them with boundaries.
Yeah. Is there anything, if there are any dance moms out here and they're currently have their kids in dance, is there any advice you would give them of what can they do early? Because, like you said, oftentimes it can be you learn after it's too late, or it's like, oh, okay, that officially crossed a boundary. Now I'm going to adjust, which is life. We can't always know our boundaries ahead of time, you know? But is there any advice you would give dance moms out there, or I guess current dancers that may be watching this, on how can you be a good dancer, but also be good to your temple?
Yeah, that is whoo-wee. That's a toughie. Um, yes, I have been privy to ballet company culture, which is different than musical theater culture, and also pageant culture. That's a whole thing too, especially for young women. Um, and competition culture, that's another culture. It's like when you, what happens to that art when you put it in the competitive space? Suddenly it's something different. Suddenly
Yeah.
it's not just a spiritual, emotional performance. Now it's got metrics. How was that toe? How was that leg? How was that knee? Was that toe pointed? How does that costume look with that makeup? And it's a whole different animal. So I've had really rocky journeys through all of those things. And I would say for parents who are considering getting their kiddos into any one of those worlds, to really keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, because not all abuse is overt. Not all abuse
Mm.
is you're fat, da 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 da. Sometimes abuse looks like, why can't you dance more like Kayla? Kayla's lines are so pretty, Trixie. Can we try to dance? Why don't you get behind Kayla since she's obviously the leader here? Or Kayla really has the right, Kayla really has a handle on this, on the look. So I want you to adjust your look, Trixie. Just kind of see if you can adjust your look. It's little things. It's like shaving little bits and pieces of your identity off.
Mm.
And it can be undetectable to the untrained eye. When I hear certain things, my hackles go up in a ballet class or a dance class or a competition where I'm just like, that's abusive. Don't say that to a child. Um, If something feels wrong, it probably is wrong. Trust your gut. Your intuition is everything as a mother. That would be my number one advice. Intuition. Follow your gut. Listen. Don't ever tell yourself, "Oh, I'm sure it's fine," or "I'm sure it's just a learning experience. I'm sure she'll get over that." Those things, excuse me, those things may be true, but really keep your eyes open, keep your ears open. Don't just drop your kiddos off and pick them up because anything can happen during that time period. So don't be a helicopter mom either. There's a balance, but like really pay attention. What is the vibe when you walk into a dance studio, when you meet a choreographer, when you talk to your competition coach for your child or your soccer coach for that matter? What's the vibe? What's their
Mhm.
intention? I really think yeah, it's intention and intuition. If you get a vibe that they're not there for the right reasons, they're not there to help build up your kiddo, they're there to get the trophy, get the win, beat them into submission emotionally.
Yeah.
Those are vibes you can pick up on.
Yeah. I think that's really just good advice to stay aware.
Hmm.
And it is a balance. I say that as somebody who used to be an athlete, it's like, okay, well, you want to look like someone because this someone is better than you, is stronger than you. And we want to get stronger and we want to get better. So we need an example. But there is ways to, for me as a leader, I'm not going, hey, you be better like this person. It's, hey, you, here's some examples of what we're shooting for. Like, let's try to pick up on that. But it's not comparison, it's not belittling to
Hmm.
make them better. And so it's like, as people may be hearing that, it's like, well, what's the difference? How do I know if it's belittling or not? Like you said, it's intuition,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
how did that land?
Yeah.
And look at your child's face, you know? The you can see it. You can see the deflation in their face. I'm not good enough. They don't like me. I'm not acceptable. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's so intense. And people that weren't in it, they don't fully know it. I get to hear about some of it because I hear your experiences. I didn't start ballet till I was 26 years old and I had a super healthy teacher. It's like, you're good enough right now. You and your booty, you can do it. You can be a ballerina as you are, you know? And so, like, yeah, I just appreciate that from you. But yeah, so what a journey you had. And just moving forward, so your boundaries changed and you explained it like it seems some came a little late. Like, okay, well, I didn't know that until I knew that. So it's like, okay, now we're adjusting. Is there anything like how you said, like, just you're like, I'm a 50-year-old now and I'm not trying to go against what my current ballet teacher is doing. I'm just honoring my body. How long or I should say, how quick was that adjustment? Because you're a performer, you were the good girl, you were the good dancer. How did you make peace with this is where I'm at right now? And although I can probably physically do that, but longevity wise, I'm not going to be able to do that. How did you get comfortable in that boundary?
Any minute now. I will tell you, it is a moving target day
Yeah.
by day. It is not something that is cured. It is not something that is fixed. It is not something that is over. It is something that is managed day to day, moment to moment. I was even in my ballet class last night. This you know because I train you right here. This is my dance studio. I move out all my furniture and those are my curtains. And I take my ballet class here too. And I'm sitting here with my journal in my ballet class last night. I'm having epiphanies while I'm in class. I I think what the difference is, I am my mind is wise and trained enough now because of my education experience and reaching out to coaches like you who give me more tools. I'm always looking for more tools. I
Mhm.
now have the toolbox. So now I can actually recognize an intrusive thought when it happens, not for the next 3 days ruminate about it and then cry for a week and then feel inadequate for a year. Like I can feel it in the moment and I go, whoa, that was an intrusive thought. Let's process that right now. So I get out my little pen and I'm like journaling doo, 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 in between plies and tendus because I'm like, get that out, get that out. That's a lie. That's not the truth. Let's put the truth in, plug that truth in. So I will say it is a constant journey. It's not something that's ever over, especially for those of us who have trauma in our history. A lot of people are probably that don't have that kind of trauma in their history are like, what? That's kind of, you're making a big deal out of that. But that's how it is when you have like,
Mhm.
there's like trauma, little t, big T, you know? So some people with little t are like, I don't get it. I want
Mhm.
to understand you. I love you. Help me love you better. But I don't understand why that's such a big deal that she said such and such or
Mhm.
that such and such happened. So those of us with big T trauma have to really work at it moment to moment, day to
Mhm.
day. So there were choices made. I remember I try on different things. I think in my 30s, I tried on giving up dance. I totally just
Oh,
went cold
wow.
turkey. No dance, no theater, no performing of any kind. I'm just gonna just plug in and be a wife. And it turned out to be a super unhealthy marriage because I was
Mm.
being a good girl. I was being a good wife. I was denying all my needs in favor of the marriage. And that's what I thought being a good wife meant in my 20s. Um, and then I was like, okay, no, let's get that back. So as soon as that marriage sadly ended, the first thing I did was get my butt back into ballet class. I drove myself cross country to New York, got myself a sublet, and I was like, we're going to cry this out. We're going to dance this out. We're going to figure this out. And so I had to rediscover myself in that time of solitude. You know,
Mhm.
I had a friend or two in New York that I did touch base with, like maybe once or twice, but, and, you know, God bless them. They were such an asset to me. Um, but I was alone and reacquainting who am I without dance? Who am I without that marriage that I thought was the be all end all? Who am I now? And then, you know, years later, having a child, well, now my body is different. Now my hips, and now I have aches
Mhm.
and pains. Now I have injuries. So now it's, can I manage dance? How do I fold dance into my life? Should I just be a teacher and not a performer? Can I be both? Can I be a student now? So, like the season I'm in right now is I'm a student. I was a
Mhm.
teacher for, you know, since I was in my 20s, I was a ballet teacher, probably a teenager actually. Um, and then I thought, you know, I need to be a student now. I need to clear the air and kind of reset my nervous system after being a choreographer and competition coach and teacher, da, 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 so hardcore for so many years. Just reset. So it's just a journey.
Yeah. 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 It is a journey. And just going back to, I love that, like you carry your journal with you in class in between sets. And it's like, I know a lot of people, when we say speak truth over it, you know, people hear like, I'm brave, I'm smart. And while those are truths, it's really important to hone in on the specific truths, you know? So it's like, for me and myself, it's like, yes, I know I'm brave, I'm smart. If I have not the most confident set in ballet with you, I'd still like, I'm on a journey. I'm better than when I was 26, you know? And it's like speaking the truth of this is where I'm at right now, and this is my best right now, you know? And I don't have to be perfect 100% of the time. And for me personally, what I love about ballet, especially since I didn't do it for all these years, right? Like I didn't start as a child, it's like a never ending goal because it's like, okay, like get up and it's like, is your body doing everything it's supposed to? Because if it's not, you're going to fall over, you know? And it's like this constant chase. The song from, what is it? The Greatest Showman, Never Enough, constantly plays in my head, not in a toxic way, but in a like, I'm just trying. And for a second, it might be enough, but then like you get off balance and it's like, never enough. But like, it's just, that's what's happening in my head sometimes. But it's, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes class, especially when I was in back before COVID and stuff, I was not one of the best. And have I been in scenarios where I'm not the best and stuff? Yeah, but it was different. It was so humbling. Like you've never done this. People are so much better than you. But it was finding the truth and you showed up. Like you literally just showed up. That's good enough. That's a truth right now, you know? And so I just love that you hone in on that just with yourself, where you're at personally. And yeah. And also like just you going, so from taking a break and then now you're pregnant, what did pregnant dancing look like for you? Like you still have technique, but you have to adjust different weight now naturally, you know?
Yeah. I was super in my prime right around, I was an older mom. I got pregnant when I was 40, and I would say my prime, honestly, was like 36 to 44, like
Oh, wow.
really late. And I think that had a lot to do with emotional journey too, because the negative self-talk and that awful the lies that can linger in there after, abuse, trauma, eating disorders, all kinds of stuff, they hinder your body
Mhm.
completely. I mean, we were both just talking about that book, The Body Keeps the Score.
Mhm.
Absolutely true. um,
Mhm.
you are not free to move about the cabin. You are not free to move your body if you've got trauma and negative cognitions floating through your blood cells. I mean, it really is on a cellular level, some things that can happen
Mhm.
to us. So I really feel like it took me that long in my life to get to the point where my body was my own, and I felt like I had sovereignty over my body, and that I was free within my body. And
Wow.
you know I I had one train of thought that I was going to talk about, and now I'm going over here. So maybe we'll go back there. Um, a lot of it had to do with a little wee bit of religious trauma.
Mm.
And I think like a lot of dancers that I've known in certain communities have also have another layer where they're taught that there's their body is something they should naturally be ashamed of, that it's
Mm.
dangerous, or that the like modesty is wonderful. I am all about modesty, but there's a difference between modesty and shame, right?
Yes.
And I'm afraid of my body because it has needs and desires, and that must not be of God. And how do I navigate that? I'm dirty, I'm bad. So all of that is another layer. Like how do you own your body and make peace with it and love it as your temple? I mean, if we're made in God's image, how? Literally, how could you be
Yeah.
ugly, bad, dirty, and disgusting, right?
Yeah.
So um, that's a whole other layer for many, many dancers. They feel like they cannot be emotionally expressive because they're afraid. They're like, oh no, well, what if this feels good? And that's bad because I'm not supposed to feel good. I was taught my body is something to be afraid of. And if it feels
Mhm.
good, it's bad. So that was a whole other thing. So I would say, as a pregnant woman, you know, and an older, I'm your Gen X friend, I we didn't have the playbook, right? So,
Yeah.
like, and even your generation and probably the younger generation actually below you, like G's generation, it's like G is my child for those of you that are watching. Um, just they're born into the playbook. The playbook is
Yeah.
everywhere. You turn on YouTube, you can't not see a video about something that's psychologized, like, narcissistic tendencies, codependent behaviors,
Mhm.
sharing safe space, all these things that were like, we did not know what those were. Gen X did not have that. Um, Only if you were a psych major, and even then, I don't know how common knowledge it was. It was just, we were just fumbling our way through with no playbook at all. So by the time I was 40, I was like, okay, I finally have the playbook.
Yeah.
And now my body is my own. And it felt so wonderful to be pregnant at that older age. And I kept thinking to myself, I'm so glad I didn't go through this in my 20s or 30s because I wasn't ready. I didn't have the healing that I needed. My body wasn't my own. God knows what I would have mistakenly or haphazardly passed on to G because I was not healed. So, can you be a young mom and be wonderful at it? Of course, that's not what I'm saying. But for me, I needed to be an older mom to really get it. And it has been a complete deliverance for me to be an older mom because everything changed for me. Um, I was foolish with my body a little bit. I was dancing and teaching every day. I did two recitals, very, very pregnant. And I did a tap dance, a full on hardcore tap dance. And I think the audience was more terrified than entertained, honestly. They were like, stop jumping up and down. But I was like, I got this, I got this. And I just thought, oh, I have to be superwoman and this and that. I put a little
Mhm.
expectation on myself. So um, I should have relaxed more. I should have let my femaleness come out more in my pregnancy rather than be a boss babe. You know, that whole narrative. That's a lie too, please. Let's not do that anymore. You know, let's not torture ourselves into being, you know, overly masculinized to prove that we're women. Like, no. So I should have sat on my lily pad and relaxed and just enjoyed the beautiful wonderfulness of being pregnant. And I did for a lot of it. Um,
Mhm.
but I did have that expectation in there that was not healthy. So I did push myself a little too much. I was doing Cirque du Soleil workouts on video.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like pregnancy Cirque du Soleil. Like, why does that exist? I don't know. So I was doing that for most of my pregnancy. I was on the treadmill. I was dancing all the time. I was choreographing. I was performing. So, um, coming out of the pregnancy, I was like, oh, after I gave birth, that was um, just an awakening for me. And it was almost like from that moment on, the heavens opened up and my intuition was born. And I never looked back. And every decision I made, I was like, I don't care what anybody thinks. This is the kind of mom I am. And if something felt right for G, I did it. And if something did not feel right for G, I didn't do it. And yes, I got a lot of judgment here and there. And lots of people love to give your opinions when you're a new mom.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's got opinions about what you're doing. And I was like, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway. And it was really the first time in my life where I really confidently was like, I don't care. I'm following my intuition. My baby is so happy. My baby is not your baby. My body is
Yeah.
not your body. I don't have to look like Kim Kardashian 3 months after I deliver my baby. No
Yeah.
way. So I'm going to lovingly reclaim my body after this birth. I'm going to nurse as long as I want. I'm going to, you know, follow my doctor's orders to eat protein and rest. Rest. That's not something I ever did. Um, so I think motherhood can just be a complete awakening for dancers because you're not in control of your body when you're pregnant. You know,
Yeah.
that's you cannot beat it into submission. You can try, and that's really dangerous. But yeah, it can really change a dancer's journey to be a mother and a parent for sure.
Yeah. You're not the first person to tell me that after they became a mom, adjustment emotionally of I have boundaries. I'm going to do all I can to protect my baby. And so my baby doesn't have to go through what I just went through. Like, so like I think that's beautiful. And a mother, that can be just that natural intuition of
Mm.
like, I just gave life. Now, how can I emotionally give life? You know, like that's so beautiful. And I do also want to hit on the religious trauma aspect of there's a lot of people out there who were taught that if you have desires, if you want to care for your body, that's not godly. But also your body's a temple. But also don't make it too much of a temple because then your body's an idol and now you're not good enough. And there's there's a lot of that out there. And a God who is loving, kind, and patient isn't asking you to hate your body because it means you love him more. That doesn't make sense, right?
It's probably heartbreaking for him when we hate our bodies.
Yeah. Like, because imagine if one of our kids came to us and said, I hate my body. Does that mean I love you more? Like that doesn't make sense, right? So it's like, I know a lot of churches have taught about that. And if you dress a certain way, you're just tempting other people and all that stuff. Modesty is fine, right? But also, you deserve to be loved right now where you're at. And it's not based on this what even is this like idolized religious trauma of how you should look, you know?
Yeah.
Jesus said, I can't recall where the scripture's at, but he said it's better for you to gouge one of your eyes out if it's causing you to sin. Okay, so it's not just about how you look, it's about how's the person looking at you. You know, we
Yeah.
all play apart. We're all honoring our temple, to each their own conviction. You know, if you feel you need to wear a turtleneck outside, then do it. You know, you're also allowed to show collarbones, like to each their own conviction. But I just love that you hit on that. And, you know, learning to love ourselves through religion, through just the trauma of the world and stuff. It's like, that's why I just so preach on to each their own conviction, because what's good for me might not be good for you. What's good for you might not be good for me. And
Mhm.
it's just learning as we go of what's honoring me in this season. And that can change. You being pregnant, honoring your body looked different after you were pregnant.
Mhm.
That looked different. Your boundaries naturally change based on your needs, right? So
Mhm.
I think that's so beautiful. And just you finding more truth as you just kept moving forward in that. So, so beautiful. Your story's just so powerful. And it gets me
Oh,
excited when I hear about it.
thanks.
Yeah. And just how you were saying too back there, like self talk is really important. I was even taught in sports. I specifically remember this was in softball. They said if a ball's coming your way, you be saying in your head, I got it, I got it, I got it. Because if you say, I'm not sure, you are more likely to drop that ball.
Mhm.
And I can even speak truth over that in other things. Like when I'm doing on Susu Point with you, if my talk is, I don't know if I, versus I'm a ballerina, I got this. Like sometimes, like it does make a difference because my body's like, oh, we're going to be in line with what you're speaking mentally, you
Absolutely.
know? And it's so much like positive self talk literally can help you move forward,
Yeah.
you know?
Your
And
body is
it's not,
listening. Even on the
yes,
inside, even if you don't speak it, it's listening on a
yeah.
cellular level. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's just so many examples of I just experienced that like more athletically, like even with running. I remember one time I was running, doing lines with a friend, and I remember thinking, I can't do this anymore. I literally felt my body get weaker. But when I said, no, I still have more to do, I got this, I felt more energy. And I'm like, I felt the dramatic difference in my self talk. So I'm like, try it next time. You know, like there's literally your self talk matters. And there's a therapist, I forget her name. Um, I don't necessarily like the way she described it, but she was saying our brains are stupid and they believe whatever you say. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to rephrase that. My brain is smart and it really believes what I say. So it's like, so what we speak out loud is what your body's like tends to agree with. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we're having a good day. We're now going to find all the evidence of why we're having a good day. Like,
Yes.
my life sucks. This sucks. Okay, my body's going to find evidence to why that's true.
There's there's even talk scientifically that the brain, that's funny that she said your brain is stupid. I know what she means by that. Um, I like to think that our brain is like it's a computer. We've heard that metaphor before, but that it works for us.
Hmm.
So we program it, right? It's just a slave. It's like, well, you put in this negative stuff, so I'm going to give this back to you because that's what you told me to do. Oh, you put
Hmm.
in this positive growth mindset. Okay, then I'm going to give this opportunity back to you, this growth opportunity. So when we go through trauma, I feel like the brain, it can feel like the brain is in charge and our brain is our enemy, delivering all this bad, horrible things. And so we do need a fair amount of education, depending on what we've been through, to
Hmm.
understand that the brain is just delivering what, how you program it, is just behaving
Hmm.
like a computer. And that people are saying now that your actual brain is your intuition and it's in your gut, literally, and that there are more cells in the gut than there are in the brain. And so there is, it begs the question, is our true brain really the gut? Because the brain is a slave of the gut. They work together. So that's interesting. And I also wanted to say, while you were talking, I was I was feeling some of your viewers feeling like, ugh, positive thinking. Ugh, I can't even with positive, right? And I want to say to you, viewers, um, that positive thoughts don't work for me either. And I was like, what's wrong with me that thinking positive, yay, doesn't work for me? Why? What's wrong with me? I'm so broken, I can't even do positive thinking. And so I had to, gosh, what is his name? There's a guy with a name. And his whole theory was based on neutral thinking, which is very similar to what you do in your parenting class, which is truths.
Hmm.
What are the truths? They're neither yay positive or negative. They're just like true. It's true. It's true whether you're
Hmm.
having a good day, whether you're having a bad day. It's true whether you're crying. It's true if you're yelling and you're angry. It's true if you're triggered. It's just true. So it never worked for me when people said, when you're in that activated moment and you're triggered and you're freaking out, just think positive. That sounds crazy to me because I'm in
Hmm.
that moment, I hate myself. And there is no way I'm going to convince myself that life is flowers and rainbows in that moment. But
Hmm.
can I convince myself something neutral? Like, I have been, here's my truth for the moment. I was just triggered by what somebody said about their body. Another truth would be maybe that person has body dysmorphia and I can have compassion for them because they've
Hmm.
obviously been through something rather than me getting mad at her and hating myself for a week, which, by the way, is not a random example. That has happened probably 100 times in my life where I get triggered by what somebody else says about their body. Um, but I can tell myself in that moment, like, you are safe.
Hmm.
They have compassion for that person. You are showing up every day. Like you said, one of your mantras, one of my favorite mantras that you gave me in parenting class was, I can show up every day imperfect. Isn't that what it was?
Hmm.
Am I missing a word?
I mean, that could be one. I can't be perfect 100% of the time. Like, yeah, the vibe, it's there. Yeah.
I love that because, like you said, I am showing up every day imperfect. Nailed it.
Hmm.
Like I know I can do that. I know I
Hmm.
can be imperfect. So,
Hmm.
replacing lies with truths is much more effective for my brain and perhaps for many of your viewers than
Yeah.
replacing positive with negative because that feels so judgy. And then there's almost like a shamey piece in there, like, why are you being so negative and why can't you be positive? So, like, if you just take all that emotion and charge and energy out of it, truth is just there. There's no emotional charge to it. So often it can counteract a trigger, I find. So hopefully that's my goal.
Yeah. No, and that's so good because, like, the goal isn't that unrealistic feeling positivity. Some people call it toxic positivity, and that sounds weird. Like, how can it be toxic and positive? But if I'm lit on fire, I'm not, everything's fine. No, truth is, this sucks. Truth is, I've also been in a hard situation before and I got out of it. Truth is, I'm 31 years old and I've always gotten out of hard situations. Truth is, I've been angry and I've always gotten back to calm. And so it's like, I like how you described it too, how that person said it was neutral.
Hmm.
So it's not like I'm angry and I everything's good. It's like, no, I'm angry. This sucks, but I know it doesn't suck for forever. I know I've been angry before and I got better. So it's like focusing on those truths and stuff. So it's not just the toxic positivity. And you're not the only person who's like gotten I've a therapist actually has come to me and stuff, and she was going over her truths of I'm brave, I'm smart. And I was like, can we hone in farther on that though? Like, what's going on with, because that's not bad. You're allowed to say you're brave and smart. I don't want to shame that. But I was like, truth is, you're going through a hard situation, but you've always gotten out of hard and gotten better because of it. You gain, and they're like, wow, they had a shift. Like they felt the shift. Because it's not just I feel like the difference for some people is them just saying, I'm safe and I'm brave. If they feel strong after that, that's so great. But the other people, I feel like, need something more tangible. No,
Hmm.
I need to know that I'm going to get through this. And
Hmm.
it's reminding ourselves of, oh, yeah, we've been in similar situations before or really close situations and we got out of it. And so
Hmm.
it's really focusing on the truth. And in that, it comes to rewiring our brain. So, as we were talking about, like our brain believes what we say and what we think. So, we're working to rewire our brain now. So, our
Absolutely.
brain for years was, you're not good enough. Your body's not good enough. Now, my body's good enough right now. My body's strong. My body's growing. My body's whatever. And we're rewiring our brain to now have new pathways to think on. And I feel like a lot of people out there are like, well, I've always been this way for so many years. How can I just stop thinking that way? You have to make the effort. You have to get your journal in between plies, and you have to be writing down your truths and working towards that. And yeah, this is stuff I like get really excited about because it's like, no, it doesn't suck for forever. It might really suck right now, but it sucked before back there. Now look where you're at. You moved on, you moved past that. You're gonna have that again. And so yeah, it just lights me up because it's one of my mantras too. It can't suck forever. So if it
Yeah.
sucks now, know that it's not done
Yeah.
because the end result is good. So if it's not good now, you're not done. Keep going. So, oh, I love that. And so, yeah, that's so beautiful. And you're going to school to be a counselor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love all the experience you carry and stuff. And now you get to hone in on like being a licensed counselor now. Like,
Yes. Well, in a
it,
million years when I graduate, yes.
it'll happen. It'll
Looking forward
happen.
to it.
Yeah. So good. Okay. So going back now to loving yourself where you're at. So you did the whole before pregnancy, and then you said like you were in your prime as you got older, and then you gave birth, and then you had rest. So where you're at now, I know you're pretty vocal about premenopausal and all that stuff. How has that just tied in with your journey?
Oh, the moving target of being a woman.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so now here I am, 50. Um, I it is here's the truth. The truth is nobody talks about it unless you watch YouTube videos all the time and find a YouTuber or a book or something. It's not something even your mom is probably going to talk to you about. Like when I told my mom, I got this leg cramp, I thought I was going to die. She's like, "Oh yeah, that's menopause." And I'm like, "Would have been good to
Oh,
know. Thanks." Like,
yeah.
what else should I be looking forward to? So, we always hear the jokes about hot flashes, but I don't have those. So
Mm,
every woman is different. And the list of symptoms for perimenopause, which lasts like 10 years sometimes or more in women, sometimes in the late 30s it starts, and you don't even know it's starting. I think average is 45 to 55 is when perimenopause happens ish for most women. Um, it is like this litany of symptoms for just being a human. Like if you can name a symptom, it's on the list for perimenopause. So how do we know that's what it is? We don't. How do we treat it? We don't know. Is there much money going into research for that? No. So we are doing things intuitively. We are gathering pieces of wisdom from YouTubers, from books, from doctors, and some doctors are not giving out good wisdom, and we have to go to naturopaths and we have to go to specialists. And so that has been a very recent journey for me. Um, Body for me slammed on the brakes around 45. I want to say I woke up and I did not recognize myself in the mirror. I did not recognize the shape of my body, and it did not move the same way. And it was scary and also beyond frustrating and very emotional. It feels like your body is betraying you, and you feel like, I've been so good to you, body, at least, for the last many years. I've been so like concentrating on being so healthy. I mean, I've been a vegan for 11 years. My blood work is like sparkling, stellar, and I've worked very hard for that. And my muscle mass is on point because we lose so much muscle every year through perimenopause and after menopause. It's really dangerous, like the amount of muscle mass and bone mass that we lose. We have to start accumulating that muscle mass and bone mass in our 30s to really experience longevity and health span, to be healthy when we're old, not just be old, but
mhm,
enjoy being old, right? So um, it was really startling. And it it is I want to say you learn how to love yourself unconditionally. That is what I would call the journey that I'm on right now. um it is just in any situation, no matter what your body decides to do today, love yourself through it. Give yourself, meet all your needs, whether they're physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever, meet them all as they come day by day. That is what perimenopause is for me right now. Um, and it is really an adjustment because my body shape is not the body shape I've had for 50 years. It is suddenly a different shape. And what does that mean? Does that mean I need a hormone? Does that mean I have too much cortisol? We don't know. We're being tested. So um, it's just start early, start young, do the work now. My doctor, when she looked at my blood work last week, we had a little Zoom together, and she was like, "I can't believe you're 50. Your blood work is unbelievable. Like this is like the blood work of a 30-year-old. Keep
Wow.
going, go girl. Um, you got to work a long time for that. If you don't, nature will just pew, take you down that
Hmm.
road. And we don't want to be the person with the walker or the wheelchair or the crutches or, you know, the lack of cognition. Um, moving your muscles, weight training as heavy as you can, um, gentle cardio. And if your body doesn't like gentle cardio, maybe you're a hit girl and you need hit. You need hard, heavy hitting cardio for short spurts of time. I haven't really heard any evidence of like long endurance cardio being a good idea for ladies going through menopause and so forth. Like marathon running, I've not heard that that's a thing to do, but I have heard that gentle cardio, like level 2 cardio, can be very good for some, and for others, hit works. So, but the research is always changing. So
Hmm.
I'm changing with the research, I'm learning with the research, and I'm just learning to love myself through it all. And that's, you need preparation for that too. You can't just
Yeah.
wake up one day and know how to love yourself,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah, and it is truly there are some absolutes. We all need water, we all need food. Okay. But then like what kind of food do we need? You've been vegan for 11 years and you said you are the healthiest you've ever been.
Hmm.
And I've heard enough comedians make comments about like
Oh yeah.
vegans, you're so weak. And I always think my ballet teacher can beat you up. Like she's really strong. Like but
I,
that works for your body. Vegan might not work for everybody else's
that's
body,
right.
but you figured out what diet you need for your body to thrive.
That's right.
And you took that time and effort and put it in, and you get to see the results from it.
Hmm.
So I think that's beautiful. And like you said, research is constantly changing. Like, this is it. This is healthy. To this is toxic. Get this out of your house. Like, it's constantly moving and we're figuring it out as we go. So I think it's beautiful that you've taken the time to love your body well and also like help other people be more aware of that. Cause like, yeah, I didn't know that you can have shooting pain, cramping, and then like, oh, that's menopause. What? Like,
Feels like your muscle is ripping off your bones. I don't want to terrify you, but it's terrifying.
yeah,
I'm like,
like,
what on earth? And I mean, I've been sore, 100 million times in my life.
yeah.
This is not sore. This is like your body is doing something that you don't understand, like
Wow.
metabolically or hormonally or nutritionally, like your macros are not matching up anymore. Like, I don't know. I had it twice, haven't had it since. But what did I do? I reached out for research. I reached out for, like anything. What does this mean? What could this mean? And,
Mhm,
we talked about magnesium, and
mhm,
that's not something that I was supplementing at the time. And then I went to my naturopath, and she said, yes, magnesium. However, don't take it orally. Take it in the form of an Epsom bath because your body will absorb the
mm.
magnesium much more efficiently through your feet. And she said, even if
Oh,
you have to take a shower, not a bath, plug up the tub and fill the water so that the Epsom salts can get through your feet for the day, like even if you have to shower. And I'm like, thank you.
wow.
So we've been doing that every day almost, and so far so
Good.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I forgot that happened to you. You were vocal about that, and I was just like, "Oh, I don't know." But then for your mom to say, "Oh, yeah, that's menopause," or so did she also have that?
Yes, however, she is not an exerciser. She's like barely a
Mm.
mover. She's
Okay.
probably watching this and like laughing at me right now, but it's true, Mom. She And like I have been an avid exerciser and trainer.
Yeah.
I started bodybuilding in when I was 16, back when it was like Jane Fonda and the whole, like I was
Yeah, yeah.
bodybuilding back then with Arnold, at Bally's Fitness, But so for someone who has not had an exercise journey of any kind whatsoever, to have the same symptom, that's menopause.
Yeah.
It's like the eternal uh it levels the plane, you know?
Mhm.
It's like nobody's special here. We're all going through menopause. You're not special.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can speak for myself. I don't know if we can call it like entitlement, but it's like, no, I work out. My body shouldn't be doing that. Like, no, I go for runs. My body shouldn't be doing that. And it's like, your body's going to do what your body's going to do, despite of what you're doing sometimes. And yeah, so making peace. But yeah, I love that little tip of magnesium. It's through your feet. I've taken Epsom salt baths before, but it's like, oh, so make sure your feet are in. Like, that's the most impacting. That's so cool. Yeah, the more you know.
And that
And
like
I'm
like the toxins can come out of your feet more efficiently, like those foot things, like so gross when you take them off and they're so full of, and you're like,
yeah,
what? That doesn't work anywhere else on your body. Maybe the palms of your hands, but yeah, our
yeah,
soles of our feet. And I mean, if you're a dancer, the soles of your feet are everything. So, and
yeah,
it really is like an intimate, like my feet are like, I almost feel like they're part of my soul. Literally. I mean, they're my soles of my feet and they're like
yeah.
they're just so, I bet there's a lot of connections that dancers make over the years with their feet that they don't know about. And we spend so much time punishing our feet and not nourishing our feet. So that's just
Mm,
one more way for a dancer to nourish their instrument.
yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, so good. Well, man, I feel like you gave us so many just healthy little tidbits that like we can't watch this and not be changed. That's how I feel. But, as we're ending, is there anything else that you want to share with the viewers just on their journey of loving themselves where they're at, just accepting where they're at, but also honoring ourselves and moving forward? Along those lines, is there anything extra you want to share before we go?
Sure. Um, One of my mentors said this to me, and I'll never forget it. She said, "We are hardwired for love." And that really reframes it for me because I think of my body as like this amazing uh, neurological computer, but then it's also got this emotional layer that we
Mhm.
can feel, right? And connect with others. And then it's got this spiritual layer of like transcending to something greater than ourselves if we believe that. Our bodies are just incredible. But to think that at the base of it, at the root of it, we are hardwired for love, that is the greatest unmet need. And if
Mhm.
we can meet that need for ourselves by loving ourselves unconditionally, I don't think there's anything we can't do. I
Mhm.
think everything stems from that. So, and I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, love myself unconditionally. What does that even look like? And it just means it's just like with parenting. Your baby's crying, it has an unmet need.
Mhm.
She needs to be held, she needs to be changed. And sometimes they have colic, and we don't even know what does that word even mean. Like, what is colic?
Mhm.
It's like, let's put a bunch of consonants and vowels together and make a word and just say a baby has it when we don't understand. That's what
Yeah.
colic is. It's some unmet need, whether it's attachment, closeness, they need to smell you, feel you, skin contact, they have gas, whatever it is. You need
Mhm.
to be that parent for yourself. If something is riled up in you, like that muscle cramp, okay, baby, well, let me nurture you, baby. I don't want you to be in
Mhm.
pain. Instead of saying, stupid body, act right. You're misbehaving. I'm going to tame you into submission, or I'm going to ignore your needs because you're being stupid. It's just treating our own bodies. It's almost like reparenting your body into that place of love. So I think that's the center of all the work I'm doing right now. So,
That's beautiful. And there was somebody that I know somebody, they're a really good friend. They're a gem. They are just this amazing human. And they were telling me how they talk about themselves.
mm,
And I just had a moment. We're listening, right? I'm not just here to shame people who have negative self talk, but I just said, that's not the kind of friend you are. I know what kind of friend you are. You need to learn to be a best friend to yourself because you would never talk to me like that. You would never talk to other people like that. So why do you think it's okay to talk to yourself like that? And they just had a moment. Again, I wasn't shaming. It was just we had a heart to heart. I'm keeping it blunt for time's sake. And they were just like, yeah, you're right. And it can sometimes be easier to meet other people's needs because we don't have to focus on, oh, this is malfunctioning. Let me just focus on this person. Oh, you hurt your knee. I'm so sorry. How can I help you? Like, oh, I'm also hurting. How can I meet my own needs? So it might be a lot. People who are coming out of being a people pleaser, performer of I'm here to please other people, not myself. You deserve to be loved. You deserve to have your needs met as well. And
Absolutely.
when we meet our needs, then out of that overflow, naturally, we're going to be able to help people even better.
Absolutely.
So,
100%.
yeah. Well, wow. Thank you so much for just your transparency. Just your vulnerability is powerful. I'm sure there's plenty of other people who have experienced a lot of what you experienced. And it's nice to know we're not alone. You know, we're not the only person who has gone through trauma, whether it's big T or little t. We've all gone through things. So thank you so much for sharing. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so thankful you were here today.